Hi everyone, Anthony Fantano here, the internet's busiest music nerd, and it's time for our weekly track roundup, where I go through what I felt were the best and the worst tracks of the week. Now, before we get into the video, a couple things I gotta mention, a couple things I gotta shout out. We have shirts on the website available, international shipping, unisex sizes. They're white colored, they're beautiful. There's a great picture of me and Cal on the front with the word iconic over top. It looks epic. And they're going to be available for the rest of this month. So if you want one, get it now. Only available for the rest of this month, pretty much at the end of this month. You know, it may last a few days longer than February, but at the end of this month, I'm going to be announcing that we're going to be finishing off the shirts. Get them while you can. So link down in the description. Also down in the description, our Amazon Associates link. If you use Amazon, you shop on Amazon, and you live in the US, and you click on that link, anything you buy, we get kickback from it. Does not add to your overall price. Help support this segment. You're the best. And finally, also, there's a link down there to a new app released by the Discogs website. If you're a nerdy record collector like myself, you may have used Discogs, you may be aware of Discogs. They are a record buying and trading platform, and this app is great because it sort of makes a lot of the wonderful things about their website really convenient, because you could do it on the go, do it on your phone, whether it be managing and sort of listing your collection or looking at prices, adding to your want list, getting to your Discogs inbox if you happen to be doing some business on there, and discovering new music too, because, you know, a lot of people use Discogs to discover new music, find out about records that are really obscure, have not made it onto digital streaming platforms, they can't find a zipper of it anywhere or anything, obscure stuff that you would not have stumbled upon otherwise, which is why, you know, I love vinyl so much, because it's such like a, you know, a world where you can, you know, sort of discover the past. And yeah, so that app, a link to that app is down there in the description too. Check that app out. Check out discogs.com because they sponsored this video. They're good people. Now let's get into the worst tracks of the week. The horrible music gods shined on us this past week. They delivered unto us many horrible songs. It was hard picking the worst one this week, but let's get into it. Kodak Black with Tunnel Vision. This track is ridiculous. Not only does the music video feature like a really overly stereotyped straw man sort of depiction of this redneck white guy who's just running around looking for a black man to shoot. His gun jams, and then it becomes this like this fist fight between both of them. It's kind of weird. There's like no rhyme or reason or story to what's going on other than this slow motion battle and just like this really weird dance that Kodak Black is doing in front of like some burning crosses, and his kind of drawling, almost unintelligible delivery is worse than ever. Just really nothing redeeming about this song. It's god awful. Moving on from there, my dude TJ, the Amazing Atheist, came out with a rap song under the name CRINGEFIRE this week, and boy does he deliver on the cringe. At least he's self-aware about it. The title of the track being Cannibalism Gets a Bad Rap, so here's a worse one. And he's well aware of his abilities on that front too, because he raps about eating body parts, sucking dick. He uses chicken pot pie, which is a word that I have not heard unironically, or maybe a little ironically in this case, but ironically or non-ironically, I have not heard that word used in a legitimate rap song since, or at least like a legitimate rap verse, since I was like in junior high or something, or at least hear somebody try to, you know, market that word, just be like, hey man, here's a dope rhyme, chicken pot pie, boy. Yeah, so yeah, that track sucks, but at least TJ knows it sucks. But if you want something so horrible that you can really just gawk at it, give that track a shot. Maroon 5 has a new track out with Future. It's just as terrible as the song they just dropped with Kendrick Lamar. I have no idea what Maroon 5 is doing right now. I think they're in a bit of an artistic crisis, because it seems like they're doing as much as they can just to sound like some bland background pop music that has a feature from a relevant rapper on it somewhere. So yeah, that track is pretty god awful and forgettable. Pitbull has a wonderful song out featuring Stephen Marley. The track is called Options, and this track sounds like some really bad pop music with a bit of a reggae twist that would have topped the charts in the 2000s. I don't know how Pitbull does it, man. He's so relevant and he's so popular, and yet he makes music that's so painfully dated. It's truly a talent what he does. Moving on from there, I got to shout out the new Linkin Park song, Heavy. I don't know what it is about all of these rock bands, all of these mainstream gigantic rock bands that are left over from the 2000s and still making music now. I don't know why it is every single new song that they come out with, they have to try as hard as they can to either sound like Imagine Dragons or just sound like they're writing EDM music, because that's what this stupid Linkin Park sounds like. It has pretty much the exact flow and the build-up that an EDM song would, but with like, you know, one of those like crappy guest singers on it to make it sound like really epic and meaningful. Like, we're not just writing a dumb dance song here. We're going to put some lyrics and a really dramatic singer on top to make you feel like you can connect to it emotionally, instead of just like doing drugs and dancing and fucking to it. I would much rather, you know, the latter there, rather than feel emotion when listening to EDM. But that's what Linkin Park's essentially trying to do here. They're trying to write really emotionally EDM music, and it sounds like trash. But those tracks, all those tracks, not even the worst tracks of the week. Not even the worst. In my opinion, the worst track of the week comes from CeeLo Green, under the name Little Fun, I think, or is it like Gnarly Davidson? He came to the Grammys recently dressed in like this really weird outfit that no one seemed to make heads or tails of. I don't know what this song is a part of, but it's a cover of the song Jesse's Girl, but the production is shit, and he's changed the lyrics to be about Beyonce. So the song is called Jay-Z's Girl. And so he has this little person kind of dancing around in the music video, and he sort of projects his creepiness onto this actor who sort of dances around his room and gazes at Beyonce and is in love with Beyonce and is singing about how he wants to be with Beyonce and he's jealous of Jay-Z and so on and so forth. And knowing CeeLo's past, you know, especially his recent sort of accusations against him, it's really creepy. I get creeper vibes off the track, and it makes me a little sick to my stomach. So not only does it sound bad, it's a corny ass cover, and it's got a very high creep factor to it. So all of those things added together makes it the worst track of the week. This track is shit. I have no qualms with just coming straight out and just saying that. All right. Let's move on to the songs that I wanted to shout out. I wasn't crazy about, but they were certainly worth mentioning because some of you guys, you know, you might dig them a little bit more than me. Rae Sremmurd has a new song out called Swang that is absolutely boring. It's pretty much wallpaper trap, but if you check this song out for anything, please watch it for the music video. They go buck wild on a golf course. There's a part where they're doing putts, and they're like throwing money down on the green, and like, you know, this old white guy throws down a big fat wad of hundreds, and it's really funny. Then Lana Del Rey has a new track out titled Love that just released, and it's okay. Chord progression's bland. Lyrical topics, pretty much the same things that she's always singing about. I think the one thing that sort of struck me about this song is slightly different and a weird kind of move for her is that the instrumentation, which was like really soft focus on the instrumentation, of course, like whimsical arranged strings and stuff hanging in the background, or it sounded very grand, like a very big presentation to it. But there was something about it this time around, which was much different than anything that she's released so far. That kind of made it feel like an adult contemporary piece of pop music to me, like she was doing a little bit of a Celine Dion thing. I'm not exactly sure where that sort of direction is coming from, and it's kind of ironic that she's singing over and over in the song that she's young and in love, despite the fact that this sounds like something that like my mom would have listened to back in the 90s and the 2000s if it were playing on the radio or something. It's okay. It's really one of her more forgettable tracks. There's nothing terrible about it, but I wouldn't really say there's anything all that special about it so far either, if you sort of compare it to anything else she's put out so far. A bit of a shame because I feel like she was kind of turning a new leaf with her last record, but I digress. Little Dragon has a new track out titled High, which I thought was very forgettable, not really a strong melody or dance beat or anything really tangible about the song. It just felt like, a lot of navel gazing and, very soft, polite, dreamy pop music that I feel like Little Dragon is certainly beyond. They have the instrumental talent to do something that's a little more punctuated and interesting, but yet they don't. They just kind of hang back and just make, the most unintrusive pop that I've been hearing for a while now. because, you know, their last record I felt was kind of a letdown for me too. But whatever, I digress there too. Los Campesinos has a new little ballad out, which isn't too bad, called The Fall of Home. Colin Stetson has a new cutout titled Spindrift, which is attached to a video, which if you're, you know, into the saxophonist music, you're probably going to dig, but there isn't anything really too novel or interesting about this track that he hasn't sort of explored before, in my opinion, at least nothing like bold or wildly different. But, you know, it is a solid track. Y's new cut, One Mississippi, and I've never really been a Y fan, is actually a pretty good song. I'll just leave it there. I'm not going to get too deep into it. It's a decent track, and it's kind of making me interested to hear this Y album. Again, never really been a Y fan, but the balladry and the really crisp production, the keyboards and the drums on this thing were really great. Yoni's vocals, which are usually kind of turn off for me, were good as well. So props to that song. Oddisee's new song, NNGE, was actually a pretty good track. I'm not really a huge fan of him as a rapper, more into his production, but this is like a really captivating beat to me. Moving on from there, Artificial Brain, Synthesized Instinct. I really loved this band's last record, but unfortunately I think the production on this new track over here, while I do think the performance is really awesome and raw and intricate, you know, there's some really good technical death metal over here with kind of a, you know, an indie experimental edge. It's not, you know, cleanly produced to the point where it's sanitized, but I feel like the production on this track is a little lackluster because this song sounds kind of muddy, unfortunately. I think Colin Marston produced their last record, and is he doing this latest one? I'm not entirely sure. Chaz Bundick meets the Mattson 2. Apparently, Chaz of Toro y Moi fame is coming out with a record which may mostly be instrumental, at least this track is mostly instrumental, with the Mattson 2, who I guess are a couple of twins who do a little jazz music, and together they've come together with kind of this soft rock pop instrumental thing that sounds like it's from the 70s. You know, it just kind of sounds like some 70s background music. It's okay, you know, it's smooth, it's soulful, it's sweet on the ears. I wouldn't exactly say that the performance is all that electrifying or anything. And it seems like it's composed to just be as easygoing as possible. So, you know, it's not really going to get your blood pumping. It's not going to get your excitement going or anything, I don't think. But it is a pretty little track, and it does make me interested to hear what they may do on the rest of the record. Because maybe if all the songs come together in a really strong, beautiful, intoxicating vibe, could be a really good album. Body Count with Ice-T, you know, fronting them. If you're not familiar with the band, please go back into their back catalog because they do have some interesting stuff. They are a cool alt metal, crossover metal, like a crossover thrash sort of band. They have a new track out called No Lives Matter, where they're sort of diving into the whole, you know, racism, police brutality, Black Lives Matter sort of a thing. And it's an interesting track. You know, there's something like really cynical and nasty and in your face about it. You know, but there's also something kind of corny about it as well, because it seems like Ice-T kind of takes the politics of the situation and boils them down to the most basic ideas, despite the fact that it is a very complicated situation. I think just kind of hearing him sing or scream or rap about these things over these sorts of alt metal riffs is inherently sort of comedic, even if it's not intended to be. But, you know, do check this song out. There's something kind of entertaining about it. And this new Magnetic Field song, 81, How to Play the Synthesizer, which apparently is a part of their forthcoming record, 50-song memoir, each song being about a year, or at least a point or something that happened in a year that's being referenced. This is not really all that memorable of a track for me, though it is a very synth-heavy song. Seemed more conceptual than anything I've heard from this record so far. Not really the best tune, but the song is filled with synths and is literally about, you know, playing the synthesizer, kind of. So check that track out. It's a pretty sweet little track. Let's move on to the tracks that I felt were the best tracks of the week, the song that stuck out the most to me. And here we go. I got to give a shout out to Parquet Courts, Captive of the Sun remix featuring Bun B. This is the weirdest, most unexpected, but also most successful rock crossover that I've heard in a while. Like, Bun B kills it on this track. Parquet Courts sort of revised this song from, I believe, their last record to have a bit more of a hip-hop funky vibe to it, coming from the rhythm and the bass groove of the track. And, they sort of slow the lyrics down, or, the flow of the lyrics has changed a little bit so that it fits the beat a little better. And I don't know, it's just kind of a really cool hip-hop revision of one of my favorite tracks from their last album. And I don't know what else to say other than I'm just floored by how well it went over. Passion Pit has a new track out titled I'm Perfect, which I'm actually pretty enamored with. I've never really been a big Passion Pit song. For me, their music has always been so sweet that it's almost felt cultish. Like, I always have to have a smile on my face or something if I'm listening to it, or that, the other people, if I go to a Passion Pit concert or something, and this is just a stereotype or an idea in my head. Everybody's wearing like mom jeans and the same brightly colored yellow shirts with a smile on it, and that's always kind of been a turnoff for me for Passion Pit's music, but. This track over here does not seem overly sweet. The drums have kind of a gritty, snappy, punchy quality to them. And, the keyboards sound really great and kind of raw and natural, as do the vocals. It's not gussied up like I've heard a lot of Passion Pit's music be in the past. And it's actually a really good tune. There's something kind of Postal Service-ish about it that I like quite a bit. Thundercat has a new great track out titled Friend Zone, which has a great bass groove to it, great drum beat to it. Thundercat's vocals kill it as well. I actually like this song a little bit more than the last single that came out from this record, which was a little too smooth at some points in my opinion, but this track over here, a lot punchier, a lot more fun. Pharmakon, who continues to be one of the most horrifying artists working today, has a new track out called No Natural Order. And it's absolutely fucking frightening. And every single time I see a picture in promotion of this album, this one over here with all these like greasy fucking fingers like rubbing all over her face, it's just like something out of a nightmare. She just does such a great job of like getting pictures of things and using them to promote her work that are just really gross and just like churn my stomach or something, whether it be like the maggots or whatever other shit turns up on her music. I don't even want to look at it. It's gross. It grosses me out. All these greasy fingers all over me. Like, God, I want to take a fucking shower after looking at this picture. But the song itself is, of course, that really heavy, rough, in your face, nasty, high volume, death industrial, powered electronic shit that she's been doing so well up until this point. Her last record was a little bland, in my opinion, at some points, but this song felt like really heavy, really in your face. Just like everything was so crisp and clear and animalistic on this track. It was amazing. And I'm hoping to see that sort of on her next record. I don't want to hear anything obscured. I don't want to hear anything tucked away in the background. I don't want to hear anything that sounds faint or phantom. I want it just like all just super high definition, just horror. Auditory horror in my face. And that's what this song brought, so I'm hoping to hear more. Laura Marling has a new track out titled Next Time, which is smooth, beautiful. It is fucking, word I'm looking for is relaxing. And it's gorgeous. It's well crafted. She is one of the most gifted singer-songwriters out there today. She's got a lot of great things going for her. Last several records have been pretty solid, so I'm looking forward to her new album over here. I'm also looking forward to the new Mount Eerie album. Phil Elverum has a new track out titled Ravens, which is another supremely depressing song from this forthcoming album. Do the research. You'll understand why it's so sad. I've already talked about it. I don't want to get too much into it now because I'm going to talk about it in the review, and it's really upsetting to talk about. So of course this track is soul crushing as well. And, it's just like a beautiful acoustic cut, a lot of great things going for it. Believe me. And, finally, I'm going to leave it on Animal Collective. Kind of bonkers, kind of bonkers, kind of bonkers. Animal Collective have a new EP out following up what I think is probably their most lackluster album so far in their discography, unfortunately. But I like this single quite a bit. Not only do I like the lyrics, and I kind of like the story and the theme of what's being, told in the song, kind of reflecting on the world at large and sort of what makes it so crazy and all the things, around you so crazy. But I kind of like the kookiness of the instrumental here because it doesn't seem as... I don't know. I guess part of my issue with the last record was that some of the sounds were off, didn't really sound that interesting, and some of the tunes were just like really underwritten. This felt like a well-crafted, sharp punchy tune. Every sound on the track sounded awesome. Really vibrant, really colorful, really overwhelming, and really interesting. Sort of that wow factor, that how do they do it factor is sort of back in the fold, I would say. And I'm just kind of excited to hear this EP. Some people I've heard are kind of underwhelmed by it, but I'm hoping to actually be surprised by it and enjoy it at least more than their last record, because I don't want to be in a position where I'm like, oh, I don't like Animal Collective anymore, because they've come out with so many great records, so many records that I like. I don't want to feel like I'm in a position where I'm just like not interested to hear their music anymore, because certainly in the past they've proven themselves to be one of the most creative and boundary pushing artists working today, and I still think they have that potential within them to continue in that fashion into this decade too, and possibly into the next. So, kind of bonkers. Definitely loving this track. And those are my favorite tracks of the week. That is the weekly track roundup. And I hope you guys enjoyed. I hope I made some recommendations for you here that you can check out and, get into and all that shit. And you're the best. Remember, Discogs app, Amazon Associates link, T-shirts are also down there in the description, available for the rest of February. And I will see you guys in the next video forever.